All right, welcome everybody. Let's get this started for real now. My name is Karl. I am the head of communications here at Olark and the head of webinars as well. And I'm really excited to be joining everybody for another webinar here today from Olark. This topic today that we're going to cover is, I feel, a growing trend with our users and with companies, businesses who are looking for live chat solutions. And that is, how do you do sales on live chat? How do I get either my sales team more involved on chat? How do I get them more leads through live chat, or how do I get my support team better up and running so that they can do help with some sales? Or maybe if I'm a small business owner, how do I do sales myself? And so we want to offer some tips and tricks today. It's going to be myself and John, who works for buildtools.com. We're going to be sharing some information with you today that we hope will help, but we're certainly open to your feedback and questions afterward if we can't get all the questions answered today. What we'd like to do is just show you some of the best practices. Well, I'm going to show you kind of a tip that we've recently set up within Olark, and hopefully you'll find it useful. And then John's going to talk a lot about, he's one of the most prolific salesmen I've met on live chat so far. He's going to be talking about his process for doing sales over live chat, what that's meant for his business, buildtools.com. It's not his business, I'm sorry. He works for that business. He's going to talk a little bit about his process, how he sets up the sales, how he closes the sales, what he's doing on his mobile device, which I think is interesting, how he has his CRM configured, and then we'll open it up to questions from the group. So if that all sounds good to everybody, let's get rolling. The first bit of information I want to share is a bit of this is an Olark sort of tip, I don't know, best practice that you may or may not have already experimented with, but within the Olark platform, there's a feature called shortcuts. Shortcuts are basically preloaded text snippets that you can recall quickly when you're in the middle of a conversation. So within your chat, if you're chatting with someone, if you've preloaded shortcuts, you can actually use the semicolon to recall those shortcuts and actually send those off to the visitor without having to retype in a particularly long string of text. We created those primarily for support functions. So let's say you're tired of typing out, "Hi, welcome to my URL. Today we have a sale that's happening. Can I help you with anything?" You can type all that out ahead of time and just quickly recall that string of text. Shortcuts are available in your dashboard. If you go into, log into your dashboard, go to settings, and there should be a separate section for it where you can start to plug those in. One of the things we realized, though, is you can use shortcuts for sales questions as well. So I've been on chat a number of times where someone comes on and asks me a question like, well, how do you compare to a competitor? And that, for me, is not a tricky question because I do a lot of competitive research. But for some other members of our team who aren't always fully in tune with the wide range of competitive differentiators, it can be hard for them to quickly come up with a response to that, right? You might get stuck trying to ask somebody on the side, and in that time it takes you to find an answer, the sales prospect has left your site. So we came up with this process to try to make it easier for you to answer those broad questions, not only for yourself, but for other members on your team. So, so this is the quick process, 4 steps, right? Step number 1 is to go into your transcripts, and you want to do a search for, if you know who your primary competitors are, you want to go into your transcripts and search for their business name in your transcripts. So I just wrote an article about this for our blog that you can check out. But the first example here might be, let's say I work for a company called Gap, which is a United States-based retail company. And let's say one of my main competitors is Banana Republic. And I want to better understand what my customers are saying about Gap versus Banana Republic. So I'll go to my conversation transcripts, and I'll go to the top search bar, and I'll type in the name Banana Republic. And that's going to come back probably with a lot of different results, a lot of different transcripts that you'll need to kind of click into and do some studying of those. But the transcripts you really want to focus on are the ones where your customers are offering unprompted opinions about your competitors. So rather than looking for the questions where they just say, well, how are you different than Banana Republic? In some instances, you're going to find that a customer comes on and already has these preconceived notions about your competition. So they might start the conversation by saying, I've heard your pants sit lower on the waist than Banana Republic pants. Is that true? And that should be, to you, a light bulb going off that says, well, if one person thinks this, that might be true for a number of other customers who are comparing my pants against their pants. And if you can find those responses, pay particular attention to how those customer interactions are being worded, because I think the vocabulary your customers use in those instances is also going to be important. You want to speak the same language as the customer. You want to use words that they use to describe your differentiators and relay those back to them so it makes it easier for them to understand. So find these transcript interactions, then take that feedback and plug it into a new shortcut. So this is a screenshot from the shortcut screen. And what you're going to do is you're going to create a new shortcut, and you're going to take some of that transcript information and build it right into the pre-programmed response. So in this case, we're saying, you know what, Gap pants are made for a more athletic build. They sit a bit lower on your waist and they're roomier in the thighs. So that might be an instance. So you're kind of saying like, you know, here's a specific thing that I know we compare on Banana Republic. And oftentimes that's all customers need. They just need one more question answered before they make a purchase on your site, and they're good to go. So we've taken that customer feedback, plugged it into a shortcut. We've given it a short sort of nickname. So you're going to give a nickname to each one of your shortcuts. So in this case, I've done BR1, Banana Republic 1. You want to make it short so it's easy for your operators to recall it. But even when they press the semicolon button, it's going to show them a list that they can easily scroll through and quickly recall things. But you know, something quick, short, and easy to remember. Give it a nickname. And then again, use that customer feedback to build the shortcut. And finally, make sure that the shortcut is designated as a team shortcut. So if you're a marketer or a salesperson, or maybe the head of a team, a chat team, if you create a team shortcut, that means it's accessible to everyone who's on your team. And there's no limitations to who can recall that at any point. So that gives you consistency in your responses. It gives your operators immediacy, which is so important when someone comes on with a sales question. And it should, hopefully, you know, give you a leg up when it comes to answering some of these pre-sales questions. We're calling these sales shortcuts. The feature itself is just called shortcuts. It's just a different way of thinking through the sales process and using shortcuts to answer customers' questions faster. Again, if you were to go into your dashboard, you're going to find shortcuts in your settings section. You'll then get a left-hand side menu where you can program this. The last bit from me, and then we're going to turn it over to John here, is I just wrote an article about creating sales shortcuts. It goes a little bit more in depth on what I was talking about. You'll find it at our blog, blog.olark.com/livechat and sales funnel. And if you ever have any questions about setting up shortcuts or trying to create new shortcuts, but having issues or trying to figure out whether or not you're doing it right, feel free to email me, but you can also, as always, you can chat with us on our website, olark.com. Anybody on our team is there. We're happy to help out. And Greg also just had a comment here. Love to hear that, Greg. You just started using shortcuts. That's awesome. Yep, and you can make it, you know, super specific to the page they're on, or maybe a product that's on that page. So maybe if you're selling bikes, you create a shortcut that says like, okay, where are you trying to ride? Where do you want to ride? Or how many hours a week do you ride? Maybe like a question that gets them thinking about making a purchase, or kind of like starts the conversation towards a purchasing decision. Not just a, hi, how can I help you? Because I think as consumers, we're all kind of pre-programmed to say like, I'm just browsing, please, you know, just leave me alone. So maybe it's kind of counterintuitive, right? Like maybe you don't want just a friendly, hi, how are you? You want something that's more focused on the product or the page or your business that gets them really talking about what they're there for. So I hope that helps. I hope you get a chance to try sales shortcuts. Last thing for me is that if you read this article, I've actually issued a challenge. If you want to actually set up some sales shortcuts and send me a picture of those shortcuts you've set up, I'll send you and your team some Olark t-shirts. And then if you can create some sales shortcuts and then actually show me some data where maybe they've helped you convert a sale or two, I'm willing to set up a pizza party for you and your team or some sort of lunch thing. But I wanted to incentivize people to try this system and see how it's working. And I'd love to hear back from people who are using it. Maybe we can report on it and share your best practices with other people. So I'm willing to maybe do lunch for your team, depending on how big your team is. So I hope that incentivizes you. Ryan asks, are shortcuts available on third-party mobile? Actually, John, maybe you can speak to this. I know you're using shortcuts. Can you access them through the mobile apps that you're using?
You know, I use Clipper Plus Sync. If you email me, I'll send you the link to that little app so you can store a million little shortcuts off to the side. Use it anywhere.
There you go. Yeah, that's a great point. We have built-in shortcuts on our platform, but there are a ton of other platforms that are out there. Yeah, right. Sorry. Yeah, someone said pizza. You got your attention. There are a lot of other platforms out there that offer shortcut capabilities, and I'd encourage you to try those too. And it sounds like John has one. Clipper, is it called Clipper Plus?
Clipper Plus Sync.
Clipper
Yes.
Plus Sync. Got
Free
it.
little app. It's in the Google Play Store.
Very cool. Yeah. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through here, I'm sure. But Ryan, hopefully that helps you out. And as we get farther along with more mobile features for our platform, we'll take a look at how we can get those in there as well. So, okay. All right. Well, we do integrate with some other third-party iOS apps too, Ryan. So maybe with some research, we can find you an app, some sort of shortcut app that works well on iOS. So I'm an iOS guy too as well, so I feel you.